My son Kevin was killed while buying a birthday cake for his dad. That night, Jack's old friend Emma posted a status on Snapchat. Someone is allergic to mangoes and insisted on eating the mango cake I bought. I held back my tears and called Jack to let him see his son one last time. Can you please stop bothering me? It's rare that Emma comes back to celebrate my birthday with me, Jack said impatiently. As a crime scene cleaner, Jack personally cleaned up the cake shop where his son was killed. He complained, other children remember their father's birthday, but my boy doesn't know how to be grateful. He is just like his mother, who only knows how to ask for money. I was frustrated and decided to divorce him. Think about Kevin, a child without a father's love will never be happy. Jack tried to persuade him. I slapped him and made him kneel in front of my son's ashes. Ma'am, please come to the police station. There is a body that needs you to identify. My mind went blank the moment I received the call. Half an hour ago, Kevin sneaked out and said he wanted to give his dad a surprise. I saw the message he sent. Mom, I'm going to buy a birthday cake for dad. I'm going to give him a big surprise tonight. I trembled and called his number, but no one answered. I don't remember how I got to the police station. When the officer asked me if I knew Kevin Zhang, I nodded woodenly. He's my son. What happened to him? Excuse me. The officer motioned me in. The sign on the door said mortuary. The officer pulled back the sheet and I saw Kevin's face and neck were badly mangled, but I still recognized him. Has the murderer been caught? I asked through gritted teeth. Yes, the suspect has been arrested, the police officer replied. Can I take Kevin home? I asked. The officer nodded in agreement. I trembled and called Jack, hoping that he would come with me to take Kevin home. The phone rang for a long time, and he hung up 3 times before answering the 4th time. Don't you understand what I mean? Emma came all the way to celebrate my birthday with me. Can't you just leave us alone for a while? Jack said impatiently. Emma was Jack's childhood friend, and she always needed his help since we got married, especially after Kevin was born. When Emma left the country out of jealousy, and Jack felt that we had driven her away, the police officer's eyes were full of sympathy. A female officer helped me up and said, Ma'am, we can drive you and your son home, but I couldn't let Kevin's father leave without saying goodbye. I called Jack again, and this time he answered quickly. Olivia, what do you have to do? Emma and I are just having a normal party. If you come to bother me again, don't blame me for being angry. I lowered my voice. Kevin's in trouble. You have to come over. Oh, come on. Are you using Kevin as an excuse again? Everyone knows that you two are always plotting together. Before I could respond, I heard Emma's voice. Jack, I'm afraid to cut the cake. Can you help me? The phone was disconnected again. I saw Emma's latest post on Instagram. A man allergic to mangoes insisted on eating the cake I bought. The photo showed a mango cake and a selfie of her and Jack. My legs went weak and the female police officer held me up. Don't be afraid, Kevin. Mom will take you home. I whispered. I took Kevin home and started planning his funeral. Jack never came home that night. The next morning, on the way to the crematorium, Jack finally called. Make some pumpkin soup and take it to the hospital, and make extra. Emma wants some too. I held the phone tightly, too angry to speak. After a long silence, I said, Jack, don't regret it. I suddenly felt that Jack was not worthy of being Kevin's father. When I watched Kevin being pushed into the crematorium, I could no longer hold back and squatted down to cry. Kevin has been very sensible since he was a child. He knew that his father was not very close to our family, so he always behaved well and never asked Jack for anything. This time he sneaked out just to improve his relationship with his father with a cake. At the parent-teacher meeting a week ago, I could feel how much Kevin envied those children whose fathers attended, but now, it's all gone. As I was carrying Kevin's ashes out, it started to rain. Soon after I got home, I got a call from the cemetery. Ma'am, I'm sorry. The plot you reserved this morning has been sold to someone else at a higher price, but I've already paid the deposit. How can you sell it to someone else? I protested. Another voice came from the other end of the line. Listen, ma'am, money talks. We paid more, so we have priority. Besides, you didn't sign a contract, so it doesn't count. I knew that voice so well. It was Jack. Jack, let's just forget it. We can find another place for my uncle to live. There's no need to insist on this. I heard Emma say in the background. I took a deep breath. What about fulfilling the agreement? I paid a deposit. You can't do this. Jack was still comforting Emma. Your uncle is also my uncle. I will make sure this matter is handled properly. So touching. The cemetery staff sounded uncomfortable. I didn't have the energy to argue, especially with someone related to Jack. I just wanted Kevin to rest in peace. Ma'am, we can compensate you, or you can come over in the afternoon and choose another piece of land, the staff suggested. Okay, I agreed. Preparations for the funeral continued. Jack's parents were already dead, and his family was not able to help. I called my parents and asked them to help with the arrangements. When my parents arrived, they hugged me tightly and we cried together. Oh, honey, you've been through a lot, my mom said. I moved far away when I got married. Jack once knelt before my parents and swore to take good care of me. Now, I took a deep breath and said, Mom and Dad, can you go to the funeral home for the burial? I need to go to the cemetery first. When I arrived at the cemetery, the staff came out to greet me personally. As soon as I walked in, I made eye contact with Emma in the distance. She immediately grabbed Jack's hand and walked away quickly. Her expression showed that she knew something. I composed myself and chose a new plot for Kevin. When it was over, I ran into Jack on the way out. Olivia, are you following me? He asked. I sneered. Follow you? Seeing how affectionate you and your friend are? How many times do I have to tell you? Emma and I are just friends. She's all alone here. What's wrong with me helping her? Well, then go ahead and help your dear friend. I snapped and walked away. As I was leaving, I thought I heard Jack mutter something about cleaning up a cake shop crime scene. Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. He was a crime scene cleaner. So, will he clean up the cake shop where Kevin was murdered? When I got home, everything was ready at the funeral home. The funeral will be held tomorrow. I have no relatives or friends here. Only a few relatives of my parents will come. Damn bastard Jack. He didn't even attend his own son's funeral? My uncle said angrily. I looked at my uncle and the message was clear. When this is over, I'm going to divorce him. But that still doesn't excuse him for not attending his child's funeral. What kind of father is he? My uncle stood at the door and started making the phone call. I stared at Kevin's black and white portrait, tears streaming down my face. He was only 6 years old. How could fate be so cruel? cruel. It was raining again. Dad stood next to me, holding an umbrella. I held Kevin's portrait tightly throughout the funeral. Jack never showed up. I tried to contact him, but he blocked my number. I couldn't even message him. I don't know his friends either, so I can't contact him. I had just brought the urn home when Jack called. Looks like he's unblocked me. Olivia, what kind of joke are you trying to make? Haven't you embarrassed me enough? Telling all your relatives about our family's affairs. You're just taking advantage of the fact that I have no one to back me up, aren't you? Take advantage? If this was my goal, I would not have married him without asking for any dowry, or even giving over $10,000 of my own money at the wedding. Now in his eyes, I am the one who takes advantage. I don't know what my uncle said, but you can go home whenever you can. I have something to talk to you about, I said. I can't help it. I don't want to deal with your relatives. They all look down on me anyway. This is ridiculous. If they really look down on him, why did I quit my job to focus on taking care of the family? Later, I became a useless woman in his eyes. He hung up on me again. Well, he's probably still cleaning the bakery. I'll go find him tomorrow and explain the situation. Coming to this place filled me with fear. All I could think about was what Kevin must have looked like when he died. He was always afraid of the pain. I couldn't imagine how scared and hopeless he must have felt in his last moments. The store was blocked off, so I had to wait outside for Jack to come out. I could clearly hear the conversation inside. Have you heard? The child they killed was only 6 years old. It is said that he met the murderer when he was buying a birthday cake for his father. TSK, look at this kid. He even remembered his dad's birthday. My kid is so ungrateful. Just like his mom, he only knows how to ask me for money. That was Jack's voice. So in his eyes, Kevin had become an ungrateful person. Oh, they just don't understand your job. Jack chimed in. That's right. My wife even tried to get me to change jobs. She doesn't understand me like Emma does. Only Emma supports me behind the scenes. What a joke. Why would I ask him to change his job? It was all for Kevin's own good. During a school investigation, Kevin proudly stated that his father's job as a crime scene cleaner was noble and selfless. The result was endless bullying and exclusion. Other children in school said he was unlucky and that he smelled of death. No one wanted to be his friend. Kevin never dared to tell Jack about this. I would not have known if I had not accidentally found him crying alone in his room one day. That was the only reason I suggested Jack change his job. Of course Emma would support him. It didn't affect her at all. Hey, I heard the surveillance video is still there. Do you have the guts to check it out? Someone asked. I wonder how Jack would react if he saw the victim was Kevin. Oh, that's disgusting. I heard that the murderer also knocked out the child's teeth. The scene must have been very bloody. I don't want to have nightmares about such a scene. Yes, sometimes my little Kevin doesn't even have any teeth anymore. An hour later, Jack finally finished his work. He seemed surprised to see me waiting outside. After saying goodbye to his colleagues, he pulled me into a nearby alley. What are you doing here? He asked. I said, let's get a divorce. Are you crazy? Is this about Emma again? How many times do I have to tell you that things are not what you think? As we were talking, Emma suddenly appeared. She immediately grabbed Jack's arm and smiled at me. Sister-in-law, you are too jealous. If I really wanted Jack, do you think you would have a chance to get me? That was so sweet of her to say. I was about to respond when my phone rang. Ma'am, we need you to come to the police station again. There has been new progress in the case. After hanging up the phone, I turned and left. Jack grabbed my wrist. Where are you running to? Did Emma pull at my heartstrings? You're such a jealous shrew. I pulled my hand back and slapped Jack hard. Watch your words. I don't have time for your nonsense right now. I rushed to the police station. The police officer first handed me a glass of water. So, have you or your family made any enemies lately? He asked. I thought about it. I barely left the house, let alone made any enemies. I barely saw anyone, so it had to have something to do with Jack. But given Jack's unusual job, I never heard him mention a conflict with anyone. Suddenly, I thought of Emma. I remembered the look in her eyes at the grave. I nodded. My husband has a mistress. Does that count? The officers exchanged glances. It's possible. What happened? Did the murderer say anything? Well, we have reason to believe Kevin's murder was a contract murder. Killing for hire. Kevin is so young. Who could be so ruthless? Why didn't you tell me before? I asked. The officer looked embarrassed. I'm sorry. This was an oversight on our part. The rest of the details are confidential, so police can't share any more information with me. When I got home from the station, I was surprised to find Jack there. He was lying cross-legged on the couch, seemingly unaware that our son was missing. Where's Kevin? Hanging out again? He asked casually. Incredible. I put my stuff down. Now you care about your son? Where were you before? What does that mean? Jack, let's get a divorce, I said. I took a deep breath. I had to accept that Kevin no longer had a father. More precisely, Jack didn't deserve to be a father. Seeing how serious I was, Jack started to panic. He smiled and held my hand. Don't be ridiculous. We've been married for so many years. You can't ruin everything because of a little thing with Emma. Oh, so you still remember how long we've been married? I said with a wry smile. Then just agree to a divorce. Don't make both of us miserable. Jack came forward and hugged me from behind. How can you bear to divorce me? Don't you want Kevin to have a father? Do you want him to be bullied because he doesn't have a father? So he does know that children without fathers get bullied. I turned around and grabbed Jack by the collar and dragged him to Kevin's room. Look carefully. These are your son's ashes.